The Democrats and the media, but I repeat myself, are going all in on January 6th. Perhaps you've noticed. Wall-to-wall coverage, dramatic speeches, moments of reflection, even a prayer vigil, all planned to mark the day. This is how the Vice President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris, described January 6th this morning.
Fellow Americans, good morning. Certain dates echo throughout history, including dates that instantly remind all who have lived through them where they were and what they were doing when our democracy came under assault. Dates that occupy not only a place on our calendars, but a place in our collective memory. December 7th, 1941, September 11th, 2001, and January 6th, 2021.
This is absurd. That is absurd. This day does not deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as those other days. How dare she? How dare she? She's just the latest to try to exploit a dark, disturbing riot over which none of us is proud. No one thinks that was a good day or a proud day in America. But how dare you compare it with something as grave as the murder of 3,000 Americans on 9/11, Pearl Harbor? She's not the first to do it. The pundits from the Washington Post have done it. The Huffington Post, ABC News, MSNBC, and elsewhere have been doing it for a year. It's quite something to hear it directly from the vice president, however. Look, there's no need to overstate what happened on that day. There's no need to overstate it. It was embarrassing, it was gross, and it was illegal. People rioted at the U.S. Capitol. I'm not talking about the people who went and listened to Trump. That's one thing. Don't lump them in. People went and listened to Trump, and they're allowed to do that. But the people who went and rioted at the U.S. Capitol with BS claims about Kraken and stolen ballots and all of it, the Sidney Powell line of stolen election claims, those people, A, were wrong, and B, those who actually engaged in violence ought to be held accountable. They hurt cops. They scared a lot of public servants, and they desecrated a revered place. Many have been prosecuted, by the way, and that's good. That's good. But for the record, not a single one has been charged with insurrection because this wasn't one. This wasn't one. Don't you think they would have charged it if they had it? They would have, trust me. You don't have to take my word for it. This is what the FBI has concluded. They've been investigating this for a year. This is how Reuters wrote up its read of their report. Quote, 90 to 95% of these, the people who were involved on January 6th, are one-off cases, citing a former senior law enforcement official with knowledge of the investigation. Then you have 5% maybe of these militia groups that were more closely organized, but there was no grand scheme to storm the Capitol and take hostages. Right. We know that. The New York Times podcast, The Daily, reported the same this week. I mean, it's fact. They reported the same this week. They actually reenacted, it was pretty interesting, an FBI interview with one of the rioters. See, there wasn't an audio, it was only a written transcript. So they actually admitted to hiring a voice actors to reenact the FBI interview with one of these guys, a self-described lifelong Democrat who described how he just kind of found himself there that day and got caught up in what he called the herd mentality.
Stupid me. I've gone through this a million times in my mind as to what I was doing there and why what I was doing. This term, herd mentality, is the only thing that I could say or relate to. It is just, everyone was kind of, the gate was open and all the cattle went out.
That's why the crimes charged that day are virtually all trespass or some other petty crime. Those who hurt cops are facing worse, and that's good. But the media and Democrats treating this like it's another 9/11 is wrong. No one other than Trump supporter Ashley Babbitt was killed that day. Some people died of natural causes. And the Democrats, including President Biden, continue to tout the case of Officer Brian Sicknick as another example of a cop being killed by the rioters. But it's not true. He was not killed by rioters that day or any other. He died of natural causes as well, something the media continues to try to ignore or actively misrepresent. I, for one, am sick of the misrepresentations. It was what it was. It does not deserve a full day of vigils and moments of silence and comparisons to 9/11. I think those of us who knew people who died on 9/11 or who lived through it ourselves are really kind of sick of that. It's disrespectful to the families. Go read Deb Burlingame in the Wall Street Journal if you don't believe me. Her brother was captaining the flight that crashed into the Pentagon, and she doesn't want to hear this talk anymore. They want to change the subject from what's happening with COVID, what's happening with crime, what's happening coast to coast in this country when it comes to our economy, the supply chain crisis, inflation, and so on. And the cable nets want to inflate their ratings. Have you seen the numbers for CNN and MSNBC? They're at record lows, and they were at record highs when they covered January 6th. It was right up their alley. It confirmed all their darkest beliefs about all Trump supporters and all Republicans, and now a chance to relive it is too delicious for them to ignore. That's what's happening. That's what's happening as you watch TV and pick up your morning paper and see the ubiquitous coverage of this. Now the Democrats are even talking about trying to make this into a primetime Watergate-like hearing, openly talking about what the ratings for that would be. They want their moment in the sun. They want to look like little government watchdogs are going to hold the awful people to account. Never mind all of the stories that they have memory hold, right? When it comes to the Black Lives Matters riots that happened, that killed a lot of cops whose names will not be mentioned, right? What happened in the Midwest in the wake of the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict when this man mowed down a lot of innocent people? No, we don't get to talk about that.